Close your eyes. Place your hands somewhere that feels comfortable. So I'm going to place my hands on my thighs. It's going to help open my shoulders a little bit, the front of the chest. And just notice your breath. There's no right way to breathe, but you might find as you start to notice your breath that it naturally starts to lengthen and deepen. Let your face relax. And just let your body begin to settle more deeply into its seat. Notice if your thoughts are a little bit scattered. And just see if you can sort of call yourself back into your body. Good. If you've lost a little bit of the length through your spine, find it once again. So it's like you're plugging your sit bones down into the floor and grow yourself a little bit taller. You can open your eyes now. You're going to come right onto your back. Good. Okay, so try to get your ankles underneath your knees, maybe a little bit further out. Plant firmly through the feet in the floor, just connecting to the earth before we do anything. My knees are pointing straight up to the sky here. Take your hands, palms down, and rest them on your low belly. So my fingertips are just at my pubic bone here, and I can feel the warmth of my hands on the belly. Pay attention to your pelvic floor for a moment. If you're unsure what the pelvic floor feels like or how to identify with that area, that's fine. What you believe to be the pelvic floor, sort of a hammock of muscles from the pubic bone to the tailbone, just see if you can let it soften. See if you can feel the breath in this area. Notice if there's a tendency for you to be clenching any muscles in this region. And again, no judgment, just notice and then soften if you can, or as much as you can. Good. You're going to need a block or a book for our next pose here. So grab that. Good, and then come back down to the same posture you were just in. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit more intense. Stay with it, feel your breath. So with an inhale, draw your knees in toward the chest. Now you can really feel the lower back making contact with the floor. Keep that, keep your belly drawn in. Flex your feet, and then reach the soles of your feet up toward the sky. So my hamstrings are pretty open. If this doesn't feel good for you, you bend your knees a little bit more. That's totally fine. Take your block or your book and place it between your inner thighs. Squeeze in. Good. Take the hands down to the floor. You're not pressing into the palms, by the way, they're just laying there. Now squeeze your big toes in toward one another. Good. So you're squeezing your block and you're squeezing your toes together. If you can, extend up to your heels a little bit more so your inner thighs are working pretty hard at this point. Keeping the belly button pulled down. With an inhale, find that string at the tailbone again and lift it straight up toward the sky. This is a very small movement. With the exhale, bring it back down. Inhale, tailbone lifts, heels and toes lift, and exhale down. Inhale, lift, and exhale down. You might even not be able to see much movement happening here, but my core is working really hard exhale down. What you don't want to do is swing your feet up and lift and down. Really, it's just tailbone straight up to the sky and exhale down. We're going to do 10 of these. Inhale, lift, and exhale down. Use your own breath. If you need a break, take a break. Squeeze the block. Keep lifting through heels, through toes. You have 5 more. I think that was 10. Let's do it. So keep squeezing your block, bend your knees, and then lower your feet down to the floor. Remove the block or the book, walk your feet out, and let your knees rock into the midline. Hands at your belly, and just notice the sense of aliveness in the core. Breathe into it. Good. Inhale, float your right arm up overhead, roll onto your right side, press into your hands and come up to seated. Good. From here, we're going to come into a lunge. So to get there, come onto hands and knees. Inhale and float your right leg straight back behind you. Good. With the exhale, pull the right leg forward and step between your hands. You might get there one step or not. Inhale and walk your hands up to the front thigh. So it's a myth that the core is simply the shallow or superficial muscles at the front of the belly here. When we talk about core, we're actually talking about all the abdominal muscles, including big muscles such as quads, inner thighs, everything that really supports the core of the body. So we can work on those muscles with a lunge. From this shape here, and my front knee is over top of my front ankle, I want to squeeze my inner thighs toward one another, so the right hip comes back and the left hip comes forward. And just take your hands to the hips for a moment. You can gently roll your shoulders on the back, feel the crown of your head lifted up. So keep squeezing inner thighs together, and just find your breath. If your knee is at all uncomfortable here, you'll place a pillow or a blanket underneath. Good, deepen breath. With the exhale, bow forward, take your hands down, and slide the right foot back. Good. Inhale, take your left leg straight back, same thing other side. Exhale to pull forward and plant the foot down. If it doesn't come all the way forward in the first step, you grab both and pull it forward until the ankle's underneath the knee. With an inhale, squeeze your inner thighs and lift up, hands to hips. Squeeze your inner thighs. So you can see here now, my left hip's a little bit forward from my right, but when I squeeze in, pulling left hip back, right hip forward, everything squares off a little bit more. I want to feel my ribs draw in, so another way of saying that is pulling the belly in like we talked about before. Roll the shoulders back. Work in the pose. Squeeze inner thighs. Grow long through your spine. 2 more full breaths. Good. With your final exhale, bow forward, palms down, and step back. Good. Shake it out. Good. Plant your palms down, spread your fingers wide. Check that your knees are underneath your hips. Toes are tucked under here. So let's just pay attention to our core for a minute. It should be fairly warm at this point. What you don't want to be doing in this pose is letting your belly droop like this and letting your shoulders ride up. We want to stay really firm through the core of the body. So first I'm going to press into my hands and find some more space between my shoulder blades. I'm going to reach up through the crown of my head. And then pay attention to the core here. I want to pull my belly button up and in. I want to reach my tailbone straight back. In addition, you'll feel the low ribs pulling in. This is a lot of work done properly. See if you can just find your breath. Is it possible to take full breaths while staying integrated in the core? The answer is yes, it just might feel weird. If you're really just getting back into core strengthening work, then this is where you're going to stay and simply breathe. If you can go a little bit deeper, I'll show you a couple variations. Without changing anything about the integrity of your core, you're going to lift your right knee up off the mat, flex your right foot, and then shoot it straight back. And here, be honest with yourself. Notice if you've started to droop. Pull the ribs in, pull the belly in. Find your breath. If this is easy for you, if the inner right thigh stays lifted and you stay really integrated here, you can float your left hand up and reach it out. Keep pushing the floor away with your right hand. If this is too much, back it off. Last inhale. Exhale, hand down, knee down. Shake it out. If the wrists need a break, you come onto forearms. Shake out the head. And we'll set up for the other side. Hands shoulder distance apart. Find the work in the belly first. Notice if this is your default position. Pull the ribs in, pull belly in, reach tail back. Couple breaths. Soften your face. If you'd like to go a little further, float your left knee up and slowly but surely reach back, staying full through the low back, so you're not drooping here. It helps to push the floor away. Look back at your left toes for a minute and check that the left pinky toe is reaching toward the floor so you're not turned out. From here, optional, pick up right hand and reach it forward. Last full breath. Exhale, hand down, knee down. Knees far apart, toes together, tops of the feet down. Sink your hips toward your heels. Walk your hands forward and take your forehead to the mat for child's pose. I'm breathing deeply into my belly and into my low back. Final breath. Use an inhale to pull your belly in, to pull yourself forward back onto your knees, and come back to a seated posture.